Hello, I'm Brother Levi Mary Pro with the Servants of Christ Jesus, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to remain in prayer throughout your day. When beginning her writing on the prayer of recollection, St. Teresa of Avila first reflects St. Augustine's famous prayer and declaration, "You were within, and I without." Ultimately, Augustine concludes that God, having made the human soul to share in his being, in intellect and will, dwells within it. He calls this part of the soul the memory, the place where God resides within. St. Teresa, in agreement with St. Augustine, affirms that God resides within the soul, but describes this as a king who sits on his throne within his palace. She writes, "Let us imagine that within us is an extremely rich palace, built entirely of gold and precious stones, built for a lord such as this. Imagine also that in this palace dwells this mighty king, who has been gracious enough to become your father, and that he is seated upon an extremely valuable throne, which is your heart. But if you're anything like me, or even like St. Teresa, you might be concerned that we don't always treat God as so near to us, and we don't always treat ourselves as a beautiful palace fit for such a king. We might be unaware or even neglectful of him." She continues, "If I had understood as I do now that in this little palace of my soul dwelt so great a king, I would not have left him alone so often. To dignify God and to give proper dignity to ourselves, we must be attentive to God within us." St. Teresa calls this form of prayer, the act of going within, recollection. This is a form of prayer that we can practice of our own power. Though God may raise our prayer to a higher degree, I'm going to give you 3 points that's going to help you practice recollection in your daily life. The first point is confidence. Confidence in God's close presence to us. Confidence that you are a palace fit for such a king. As I said earlier, we can be unaware and neglectful, but even disbelieving that God is within us in this way. St. Teresa writes, "There is no need to go to heaven in order to speak with one's eternal Father or find delight in him, nor is there any need to shout. However softly we speak, he is near enough to hear us. This is something that God desires for you. He desires you to know who you really are. He desires for you to see the way in which he has created you. He desires that you experience and enter this dwelling. So ask him as a son or as a daughter to enter the dwelling within you." The second point is solitude. St. Teresa continues that all one need do is go into solitude and look at him within oneself. To have recollection throughout your day, you need to have a primary time of dedicated solitude with God, as well as a secondary, smaller times of prayer elsewhere in your day to return to. The primary time can be something like a holy hour or whatever your normal practice of prayer is, but these secondary times should be as frequent as you can, where you are making an act of return, an act of entrance back into this dwelling that you've already spent dedicated time in, where you go into God's dwelling elsewhere in your day. And this is not the form of prayer where you claim that your work is your prayer in the rest of your day. This is a dedicated time of solitude with God, where you're returning, setting everything else aside to him. St. Teresa says that this could even be for the length of an Our Father. As simple as that. The last point, perseverance. St. Teresa writes, "If we make the effort, practice this recollection for some days, and get used to it, the gain will clearly be seen. This recollection will be effected without our effort, because the Lord has desired that, during the time the faculties are drawn inward, the soul and its will may merit to have this dominion." Like I said, God desires this for you, and he will help you have recollection in your day. He doesn't just want to be with you in your dedicated 30 or 1 hour in the morning, but he wants to be with you all the time. But like any habit, we must exercise discipline and be perseverant in our practice. Once the habit is built within us, it will come naturally, and we will find ourselves in God's presence without any effort exerted. God bless you.